So we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour. I'm your host, Mirai Tulekima, called the Greatness Engineers. And today I'm bringing you again an amazing guest, and we're going to talk about midlife. I don't know if we should call it crisis or transition. We're gonna discuss that with our guest today. And our guest is in the US, and her name is Laura Rubin, and she's called the Midlife Navigator. So I'm really curious to know why and how she came to become the Midlife Navigator. And we know that midlife is sometimes it's actually sometimes very difficult to manage. And I'm very, I really want to understand what are the tools and the strategies that she has for us, because I think I'm in this midlife, so it's got to be very, very important for me to get out of this show with the right knowledge and a bit of help for me to be able to navigate this midlife that I'm into. So let's start. Let's bring Laura. So if you're joining, let us know where you're joining from. Don't hesitate to ask any question, and please, make sure you share the knowledge as well with anybody that you feel like need this information. And let's have an amazing conversation with Laura. So don't go anywhere. We're bringing Laura in.
Right? On memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So, good morning, Laura. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's such a pleasure to have you today. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to today's episode and talking with you today.
Yeah, I can imagine, because for me is I'm in this midlife, so it's got to be very important to have all those tips and strategies that you're going to share today. But before we go, we reach this level, just let us know who is Laura and who is the Midlife Navigator.
So I'm Laura Rubin, and I am the Midlife Navigator. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur off and on all my life. I would do some work for myself. I would go and then work for a company, and I progressed to the point where I hit midlife, and I had lost my job, and I wondered, do I really want to go back and do the things that I was good at, or do I really want to discover who I was and what was really important to me? I felt like prior to hitting midlife, I had checked off all the boxes: marriage, career, college, not in that order, but I checked off all the boxes and did what society modeled that you thought was the perfect life. Hit midlife, lost my job, and really started to wonder, is this really the perfect life? On the outside, I looked like I had it all. I had a great job, or at the time I did prior. Financially, I was stable. My children were in good places. They had moved out. They were doing well. I had a great marriage. And it all looked on the outside wonderful, but I felt like I was missing something. And so I decided that it was time to go on the journey. What I was missing was my voice. Who was I? Who was Laura? What was important to me and what really mattered to me? And so I went on this journey to discover who I was, to navigate what midlife was for me. And so on this journey, I discovered that there were other women in the same place that I was, and I wanted to help them as well. And it just became a calling. My calling really came to me when I started paying attention and really diving into who I was.
Okay, all right. So really, it came down to your own experience, really looking at what how you were feeling, what you were missing, and really trying to address yourself first before you could actually give to others. But then what were the key challenges? Because obviously you were saying that, you had the perfect life, and, suddenly, you start to probably talk to people and tell them, no, I'm not happy. But then they're probably, very surprised. So how did you manage all of this? I mean, not only maybe your husband, your children, or anybody's around you, your sister, your family. How did they take it, and how did you manage that?
So you're right. I mean, it was very surprising to some people when I would say that I wasn't necessarily happy. Now, I was happy with my life, but I felt that there was something missing. And so, I started talking to people about it. Some people understood. I met other women that felt exactly the way that I did, that felt like there was something missing. That the sad thing is, for some of those women, though, they felt they were too old and they felt like it was too late. For me, I just decided I wasn't too old, and it wasn't too late, because I felt like I have another 40 years ahead of me and I want to make the most of them. So, starting to talk to my family, talk to my friends, and just explain where I was and what I really was feeling. And they were very supportive. My children especially, it was funny because I would talk to them and tell them, be excited about what I was learning. And they were like, great, Mom, glad you're doing that. They didn't technically understand. They were glad that I was on the journey. And that's what helped me to realize that I wanted to share the information, and I needed to share it with women in the same stage as I was.
So, I mean, practically, how do you help, those women actually get into this midlife? And one question I always ask myself is that, do we all eat, midlife at the same age? Because, age is a number, but doesn't mean that all of us are going to maybe, have this midlife at 50 or 45, or what is this midlife thing?
I believe that we start getting these feelings of what I would say unrest at around 40, because I really believe in our 20s, our focus is different. It's in, building our career. It's in possibly, finding a spouse and getting married and, having children. That's our focus. When we hit our 30s, if we do have a family, it's raising our children. So I really believe that the unrest kind of sets in at 40, when we have a tendency to look at, okay, now I'm kind of on the backside. I'm at the, I'm 40 more years, 50 more years, maybe I have less years ahead of me than I did behind me. So we start having this unrest, and our lives, settle down and they take a new meaning. Our children don't need us as much. Maybe we're established in our career and it doesn't give us the excitement that we had before when we were building our career. So I really believe that the unrest starts at around 40. And it's just a matter of, midlife, if you look at it as a term, if our life expectancy is 90, midlife is 45. So you're right in there, but you are correct that age is a number. We all feel differently at different times. But it's just it's a matter of when do we start, when do you really start feeling that unrest? And some people don't feel the unrest, but some do. And I have found that it's usually around 40. Now, what ends up happening is lots of times we don't really dive into it or take a look at it till we hit 45. Because at 40, we're still in the, really, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I'm not sure. Why am I feeling like this? At about 45, the women that come to me have decided that they don't want to feel like this. They do realize that there's something more. They just don't know what the journey is. And really what it entails is stripping away the labels of wife, mother, CEO, secretary, whatever those labels are that we've lived with our entire life. It's stripping those away so that we can really determine who we are and what's important to us. What are our core values? It's about getting off the hamster wheel that we're used to living on and getting off autopilot and start really paying attention to what we like, what we don't like, what we say yes to, what we say no to. And that's really the base, is just coming back to center and coming back to alignment, so that we're now in a place that we can start noticing, and we're not caught up in the labels or the shoulds of society, or comparing ourselves to what our friends are doing or what our coworkers are doing. We're at a place where we're wanting to figure out who we are and what makes us tick.
And that's a big thing, because for women, we especially, because we have so much pressure. I mean, there's a pressure, for example, when you have a career, to become a mom. If you're not a mom, then people start to put pressure on you. Or if you're not married, you start to have this pressure. And then, at work, when, they expect you to behave a certain way and you don't behave that way. So how, and we go through it for a long time. So how can we deprogram ourselves? Because we really program to do certain things, but it can be very difficult to get rid of all of this and start all of us. So what are the strategies or the tools that you use to help those women?
So we start with self-care and self-awareness. We start with looking at what are we doing for ourselves in the span of a week. Can you pick a time that you sat by yourself and enjoyed your own company? And what were the thoughts that came up? Was that difficult for you to do? How do you handle really just getting to know yourself, so that you can become aligned with what with what you love in life and how you want to live your life. The self-care piece is super important. And self-care isn't just about bubble baths and wine and things like that. Self-care can also be about saying no, saying yes. What do you say yes to? What do you say no to? Start looking at the situations in your life that aren't serving you anymore, and what do you really need to say no to? Those kind of things. It's also about slowing down and paying attention to the world around you. I really encourage my clients to get out in nature and just sit and look at the beauty, listen to the noises, experience what it's like. It's about slowing your life down enough that you start paying attention to what you're doing and where you're going and what's happening in your life.
And I like, the slowing down, because especially now, as a woman, we wear so many hats.
Yes.
And it becomes very difficult to appreciate who we are, to really know who we are at the end, because like I said, we just do things because we have to do that. We get busy and we get caught up in everything, but without really taking the time to, like you said, sit quietly and really appreciate our own company. It,
Yes.
and it can be scary when we do that, isn't it? It can be
Well,
very.
and for someone like myself
Mhm,
who thrives on what I'm going to call busyness, to
mhm,
sit and be okay with sitting and just letting those thoughts come and releasing what I call it reflecting and receiving, and then
mhm,
releasing the thoughts that aren't that aren't serving you anymore, just like
mhm,
releasing situations that don't serve you anymore, people that don't serve you anymore. And it is hard because we are conditioned for we need to take care of everyone else. Well, now it's
mhm,
our time to take care of ourselves. And I think in midlife, we're at a place where we are ready to take care of
mhm,
ourselves. And that's the important piece. In the 20s, when we're in our 20s, taking care of ourselves looks different. In our 30s, we really are taking care of everyone else. When we
mhm,
hit midlife, we are at a place where I think we're more inclined to go, it's time for us to take care of ourselves. And we're willing to do that no matter how hard it is. And it does require stepping out of our comfort zone. We
mhm,
have a choice. You can continue doing the things the way that you do, but if you're unhappy, it's time to stand at the threshold and decide, are you going to step through that door and step out of
mhm,
your comfort zone and do a few hard things to really, make the best of midlife, or are you going to stay behind that closed door? And we all have a choice to decide what
mhm.
we want to do.
And that's the thing. We all have a choice, and we have to decide what's good for us and live with the consequences. Because when we've made this decision, we have to live with the consequences and see, is it the right choice for us or is it the right choice for somebody else? And then we're all miserable. So we're just going to have a small break and, just want to watch a video, and we will continue our conversation. So for those who are joining us just now, my guest today is Laura Rubin, and she's called the Midlife Navigator. And we've started talking about how she's helping, women who are, transitioning into this midlife and to rediscover who they are and live life on their own terms. So we'll be back, and don't go anywhere.
I'm often asked by my clients how to tell if they're actually having a midlife crisis. When we're young, we learn the script about how our lives will progress, whether this involves academic achievements, professional achievements, and/or getting married and raising a family. This is often drummed into us at a very early age, to the extent that it becomes unconscious, which means it's more of a shock when the script finally runs out during our midlife and we realise it's time to make a decision about where to go next. Common feelings are of overwhelm, a loss of identity or purpose, feeling deep unhappiness, or feelings of lack of direction, making it impossible to experience even small amounts of true joy during the day. If these feelings aren't dealt with, you may find yourself seeking immediate gratification to make yourself feel better through means such as overeating, very common, burying yourself in unfulfilling work, overcommitting to others, putting everyone else first, spending too much money in the shops, or even entertaining thoughts of escape by finding someone new. However, when you can successfully move through a midlife crisis, you will find yourself stronger than ever you were before, more clear about the direction of your life, and you will have the ability to be comfortable with all your emotions that come up over time. You'll be surer about yourself and really grounded in your true core identity, and you'll have the drive and focus you need to create the kind of life you really want to live. The bottom line is, when you begin the journey of rediscovering who you are, you'll be more confident in your own skin than you have ever been before. You'll experience the joy of feeling purposeful, and the happiness that comes from successful relationships and the abundant feelings of self-love. You'll be able to achieve goals you set for yourself, and you will live with authenticity, staying true to your deepest personal values. If you have spent little time in the past pursuing your individual interests and haven't done anything to fulfill your own dreams, you may well be in danger of experiencing a midlife crisis. So it's really critical to find a purpose and passion that will bring you happiness and fulfillment. Just ask yourself, what is most important to you in all areas of your life? To get started on this journey, make yourself a vision board. Take a large sheet of blank paper and some magazines. Go through the magazines and cut out any photos and headlines that inspire you. And add any of your own photos too. Finish by framing your vision board and hang it somewhere where you can easily see it every day. It's a first step towards clarity about your goals for the future. To find out more about overcoming the challenges faced by midlife women, just visit our website www.agewithattitude.co.uk, where you'll be able to request a free copy of my new guide, An Introduction to the 8 Attitudes Shared by Successful Midlife Women, which is packed with practical tips and inspirational advice on everything from midlife relationships to menopause weight loss and even empty nest syndrome. I'm often asked by my clients how to tell if they're actually having a midlife.
So how do we, because she talks about several things, and I think you mentioned those things before. So how do you identify, how do you go from, being really, a challenge, if I can say that, to the next step? What are the key things that, guarantee that you're going to be successful in your transition to your next, to the next stage of your life?
I think the biggest thing is being excited and knowing that this is really the best time of your life because you have more freedom, and it's just really believing in yourself and taking your life back and stepping into that feminine power that you have and really understanding and being proud of who you are and what you've accomplished and what you have to offer the world. And that's what's so important about the self-care and the self-awareness piece, is really taking care of yourself and then understanding who you are and presenting that person, that voice to the world, and being proud of who you are and what you have to offer.
And that's important because, and she was talking about purpose. But one question I wanted to ask you, because you've obviously gone through the process and you've studied the process as well. Do you think when you're able to have this successful transition, it's actually the best part of your life?
I agree. Yes, I do believe that. I think at this time in my life, I do believe in myself, and I'm much more confident than I was when I was in my 20s, and in my 30s was kind of a whirlwind. And I feel like at this stage in my life, I have gotten to the point where when I say yes, I say yes. When I say no, I don't feel guilty about it because I know that it fits with who I am and what my path is and where I want to go and who I want to be. James Clear has a quote that every decision that you make is a choice for who you want to be later on in life. So if you know who you want to be, then the choices that or the decisions that you make now are easy because you've got this person that you are working to become. And that's what, taking control of your life and living life on your terms is all about. You get to decide and make those decisions, and you have a guide or a roadmap that you don't have to wonder what's the right decision. You know where you want to go and who you want to be, and the decisions become easier.
Wow, that's powerful. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, I really want to go into this midlife because it's so exciting. You become so confident, you believe in yourself, and So, but do you have a particular process? Because you've talked about roadmaps. Do you have a particular process that you have the woman to go through, or something that we have to go through to get it right?
So like we talked about, we start with self-care, and the self-care is the physical side, the mental side, and the spiritual side. So we work on all of that. So you start coming back to yourself and realigning and figuring out, remembering things that maybe you've forgotten that you liked, didn't like, things like that. From there, we move on to figuring out, determining what are your strengths, what are your skills, what are your core values. That's a big one. You'd be surprised at how many women I ask, what are your core values? And they have an idea of what they are, but they can't give me 5 words that maybe correlate to their core values. So I have a workbook and a whole process that we go through. So at the end, they have these 5 words that are like their shining beacon that they want to live their life by. And then we take the strengths and the core values, and we work on creating what I call a midlife manifesto, which is like 8 to 10 statements of how you want to live, how you want to react or live in a certain situation. Some of those statements will be how you're living now, and some of those statements will be how you want to live in the future. And then you, again, based on your strengths, based on your core values, you act accordingly to reach those, where you want to be in midlife. And so it's great. We can wander around aimlessly, but it's wonderful to have, which doesn't get us anywhere. And it's been proven that when we have a purpose and we feel fulfilled, that we are much happier and we just love our lives that much more. And that's just as important, even more important in midlife.
That's fabulous. So I like the process. So self-care. So first you understand who you are, and then you define what you can offer, which is your strengths, skills, and the value that you have, and then create basically your vision. This manifesto that is gonna drive you for the rest of your life. That's really, really powerful. And it's just amazing. I hope the audience, you all have all the women watching, have their notebook and their pen to really remember this process and all the key things that you just mentioned so far. And one thing that how long in general does it take, especially like I said at the beginning, we all very conditioned. How do you think on average it takes those women to really start to believe in themselves, to be free in a way, and really live life on their terms?
Well, it's definitely a journey, and that's the destination is great, but I think the journey's the most fun, and because it's all about exploration and discovery. And so it's always a journey. And one thing to remember is that it's going to take turns, and you might have a detour here or there, or what was important to you at 45 may not be as important to you at 55. And that's okay. The process works. As when you start feeling out of alignment, you just go back to the process and revisit it wherever you need to be, and just get back, on track of moving forward. So it is a process. It is a journey. I would say my program is 12 weeks, but the 12 weeks gives you a great base from which you launch from and continue. It's amazing. In the first 4 weeks is what we work on in self-care. I have various exercises we go through and things that we do. And the change in that 4 weeks, just these women all of a sudden realizing that I am important. I can do things for myself. It doesn't have to be like this anymore. It just opens their eyes. It opens their hearts. And then all the good stuff that's been waiting to come in starts coming in, and it just is a great catalyst. So by the end of the 12 weeks, they have a really good idea of who they are. They may not, and they have a roadmap. They may not be quite sure what the next steps are, but they have a great base into which to start with. And then lots of times I continue on with my clients so that they can get their feet wet in the roadmap. And, I guide them through that. So if they hit a stumbling block, I can help them through that.
That's fabulous. And let's just see, we have few people in the audience really listening today. So we have Dee, she's listening from Washington, DC. Yes, she's there. And we also have Samiratu. She's in Ghana and she's enjoying. And I think, and Dee is really enjoying the Midlife Manifesto. She's saying this is fabulous, and I like it as well, because it's kind of something that you've created it. It's just for you now to focus on that and make sure that you stay on track. And you don't divert, and that's really good to have and to know. And obviously there's I think there's a lot of spiritual side to all of this as well. So how do you combine the spiritual, the physical, and because we have to come out completely it's like a detox, isn't it? Like when you go to a detox somewhere. So how do you combine all of this? Because I know that you also do a lot of fitness. Is it part of the process?
You bet. Self-care, the physical side of things, I always encourage my clients to move. It doesn't necessarily, I am a personal trainer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and go hit the gym or work out heavily. It's movement. It's not sitting. We sit in front of the computer for so long. It's about movement and just moving our bodies and starting to feel into our bodies, because that's what starts releasing the negativity and brings in the positivity. So I really am a proponent of movement, whether that be regular exercise or hiking or dancing, whatever that is. Movement is super important. Nutrition is super important. I always guide my clients get off the refined sugar, reduce the processed food that you're eating, that kind of thing. We have to take care of our bodies. Then we take care of our minds. So, if, as you said, it all intertwines together. If we're taking care of our bodies, but we're not taking care of our mind, we're not complete. If we're not doing the spiritual in meditating or journaling or the quiet time, we're missing a piece in becoming whole. It all, correlates together to make us whole.
Powerful. And I think that's we have again Dee saying movement and nutrition are very important, and it's a complete process. It's a complete process, and we have to understand that, because sometimes we think like we can do one or the other, but then like you said, there's something missing if we don't have the complete picture, and we don't really follow everything as as guided. So do you because we obviously talk a lot about the woman themselves, but is it also, there's also the environment, because some of the women are still married, some of the women are maybe they still have their kids around. So how do this the environment plays a role in you being fulfilled in your midlife and being able to still pursue your purpose?
Support is very important, obviously. And so as you go on the process, it's very important to include your significant other. It's very important to include your children, to talk to them about what you're doing. But unfortunately, in the end, if you're not getting the support that you need from them, then you need to find support from your friends or from a group of women. Well, because support and accountability is going to be super important, because you are stepping out of your comfort zone. And the best that you can do is explain to your family members what you're trying to accomplish, and what really, and the importance that it is to you, and to ask them to come alongside you and help you, accomplish this, because in the end, they're going to benefit as well. If you're happy, they're going to be happier, and they're going to see your transformation and really appreciate who you are. So it's very important to bring them along in the journey. Sometimes they'll come along and sometimes they won't. If you're struggling with that piece, then it's very important that you find an outside source of support and accountability as well.
Very, very, very important. And I hope, people are not, because sometimes you don't have a supportive environment, and you have to find an option for you to still be able to be who you are, and at least start the process before they can follow you. Because I think when they start to see the result, that's probably when they align. I might be wrong, but sometimes the beginning is very challenging, because they don't believe. They know you as you are, and they don't know the potential that you have inside of you. So when you come out and talk to them about this potential that you want to pursue, they're like, okay, that's not the same person, and we don't believe it, and it's probably just a crisis, and that's all it is, and it's gonna pass. So we just have to, to push, and then when all those results come on the table, then you probably get the support that you need. So that's fantastic discussion today. And we having so we have Chikas from Nigeria. She's watching as well, and Dee is still there. So we're gonna take another break and then come back and continue, our exciting conversation, and continue to learn about how to navigate midlife and live life on our own term at the end. Because especially as women, we always used to live life on somebody else's term, either our children, either our husband, or either any colleagues or whatever in the professional life. But now we really want to live life on our own term. And Laura is here to help us today to understand a little bit of what the process is all about, the key challenges, and how to be able to have a successful transition. So don't go anywhere. We are going to be back and continue this exciting conversation. We are back with Laura, and our topic today is about navigating midlife, the midlife transition, or I don't want to say crisis, because crisis is a bit negative, and I want to be positive about this part of our life. So you've been doing all this work, Laura, but you have also other passions. So how do they align with what you're doing?
So first, we're gonna jump back to the word crisis, because you're correct. When you say the word midlife, what's the first word that comes to mind? Crisis. The thing about a crisis, and so I've changed it, or I believe it's a midlife awakening instead of crisis. So that's the word I use. But honestly, it is actually, crisis is a correct word, because a crisis requires us to change and to make a transformation. So it really is a proper word. It just has been given a negative connotation by society. And so I like to use awakening, because we're awakening to our true potential. So that's my comment about midlife crisis versus a midlife awakening.
Okay, all right.
In terms of what I do outside of being the Midlife Navigator, as I mentioned, I am a personal trainer. Fitness is very important to me. I love hiking, being outside. So not only working out in the gym, but also just movement in general. I'm a big travel buff. I love to travel. Unfortunately, COVID has stopped that for a while. But we are traveling to where we can drive. We're taking road trips more than we would, travel to Europe or things like that. And then I'm also, one of my avid hobbies that I do is I show horses. I am a national level equestrian. I show at the national level, which brings me great joy. So for me at midlife, my life is full. I have two wonderful children that are doing well, a wonderful husband. I love what I'm doing. My hobbies fulfill me. And so this was one of the reasons that I want to help other women see and understand that they can have it all as well. And midlife can really be a wonderful time. I am at a much better place now than I was in my 20s and my 30s. I would never go back. I so enjoy my life right now.
Okay, so don't be afraid to get this number going up when you go close, you're getting close to midlife. It is actually an awakening to a better life. If we believe what Laura is saying, and we see that she's really happy. So be really confident, and understand that there's life after midlife, and it can actually become your best life.
Right.
So don't be afraid to do that. So and in a way, we've been talking about midlife, and what do you think is the key message for most women who are either approaching this midlife transition or awakening, or the one that actually going through it but still are challenged and still are not really comfortable where they are? So what is the key message or key advice that you want to give them?
I would say trust in yourself. It is not too late. You're not too old. This is a process. You're not going to get from A to D immediately. Keep working the process. Keep believing in yourself. Keep trusting in who you are, and find help along the way. Have other people come alongside you to support you, so that when it does get tough and you want to retreat back through that door because you're out of your comfort zone, have your friends and your support system that say, nope, you're doing a great job, keep going, or I understand where you are. So don't give up. Keep moving. Know that it's a process. Know it's a journey, small steps, one at a time, and you're going to get there, and you will see the reward.
So don't give up, please. And we know, I mean, from experience, in a way that whatever makes us uncomfortable, it's normally for us to go to the next level.
That's right.
And so if we're getting uncomfortable in this transition, in this awakening, it means that something great is coming. And we just have to keep pushing, like you said, keep pushing, keep going, and get help, because we can't make it on our own. And there are people available, and you do that yourself as a coach. And I hope that whoever is listening and going through this midlife crisis, I'm going to use it today, can actually, reach out to you and understand a little bit more the process, so that, they can get the right help as well. So before we talk, I mean, we're getting close to the end of the show, obviously. One thing that I wanted to ask you, how do people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about what you do, or just, to get your service, or any of the program that you have to help women?
So you can find me on the web at lauramarierubin.com. There's a contact button there if you want to schedule a call, and I offer a free midlife compass and clarity call, 45 minutes. We can get on the phone together and talk about where you are in midlife. I also have a free 3 strategies to making midlife your best life download that you can get from there. I also have a Facebook Midlife Revolution group that is full of women, and we talk about the struggles and our triumphs of midlife. I do some teaching in there, some sharing of wonderful articles and quotes. So it's a great place of community and support while we're all going through midlife. You can also find me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Laura Marie Rubin.
Okay, all right. So we have everything. So don't hesitate. So we had all the contact for Laura. So don't hesitate to reach out to her if you want to know more about midlife, and or if you need help with your midlife transition, awakening, or whatever you're gonna give it. What name you're gonna give it, especially if you have to do your manifesto, then that's what it's gonna be. So that's really fantastic. It's been an incredible conversation about midlife, and I think it's still a very taboo. I don't know, you being in this industry, but for me, outside, I find it a little bit still taboo. Not a lot of people talk about it, especially women. We tend to try to, do this transition alone, and try to figure it out alone without, expressing ourselves. And at the end, we get frustrated and we don't go anywhere. And a lot of the women are actually not able to live life on their terms until they depart this world,
Right.
which is a shame, in
So-
a way.
You find that women in midlife are ashamed or feel guilty because they feel like at that point in their life, they should know what they want to be when they grow up, or they should have a good understanding of who they are, or they should be very happy with what they have because there are other people in life that would like what they have. So they should just be happy and settle because, so they feel guilty and ashamed, so they don't want to talk about it.
And that's exactly, I mean, that's what I've seen so far. And I'm really happy I had this discussion, because then I know that, it's actually not something to fear. It's
Right.
actually something and to talk about. And I hope, it's going to open the debate, especially with my audience, to start to talk about it, and share this knowledge that you brought on the show, and help some women, being more open about their midlife, and being, getting back to trusting themselves and believing in themselves, and really, liking the life, whatever the challenge they go through. So it's really important. So just before we leave, what is the key message that you want to leave the audience with, knowing that most of the audience today are women, and I think midlife, or close to midlife women?
Take this opportunity to find out who you are, discover what matters to you, take back your life, step into your feminine power, and really live the second half of your life to the best of your ability, because it is the best life.
Good. Just really powerful. So take the opportunity to really, get into this midlife with a lot of assurance, believing in yourself, because we know that it's going to be the best part of your life, and you don't have to be afraid. You've done the groundwork,
Mm-hmm.
and it's time to really enjoy your life and enjoy whatever comes your way, and live in on your terms, and be happy about it. So that's really important. Before we leave, there's some comment, great conversation, learned quite a lot. So that's Chicas. She's very happy that she's learned all of this. And then D, take care of yourself and your mind. So that's
Yes.
one of the key message that she got from the conversation as well. So I hope you've had like Dee and Chicas, whoever is going to watch the video or watch the replay. I think a lot of the audience is going to watch the replay. So don't hesitate to reach out to Laura or to myself, and then I'm going to direct you to Laura if you have more questions, or if you have you want any clarification or know a little bit more about what she does as the midlife navigator. So we're gonna have another show on Wednesday. So Wednesday we're going to have a gentleman from Singapore, and Jerome is a brand brand guru in Asia, here in this part of the world. Very dynamic and very powerful speaker and coach in the branding industry. And I'm really looking forward to have him on the show, on the Greatness Engineering Hour show. On Wednesday, it's gonna be fire on this platform. And other things that we have as well. There are some that big news that we have. So the magazine is out. So
Mm-hmm.
we have the Greatness Engineering magazine is out. So make sure you take a copy of it. It's still free for the first edition before getting a subscription later on for the next edition. It's going to be published in October, because it's a bi-monthly magazine. So a lot of good news. That was on my birthday, so I managed to get it out just on time. And also there's also another book coming that I'm writing, collaboration book with 20 other women, and it should be out in September. So it's going to be a busy third part of the third quarter of the year for me and for the ladies that I'm collaborating with. So that's all for today. And I really want to thank you, Laura, for your time and for all the knowledge that you brought today. I think we've learned a lot, especially knowing about this transition. A lot of us were scared, actually, and not really scared, but just didn't know what it was all about. And now, with this, just the information that you brought, we're starting to be a little bit more confident, and with getting more knowledge and doing more research and connecting with you, we will be able to finally, like you, live our best life, and really enjoy this fantastic part of our life. So thank you very much, and I really thank everybody who came in and tuned in today, and really appreciate those who are gonna watch the replay, and then hope that they're really gonna enjoy the conversation like I did, and like the rest of the audience that tune in live did. So thank you very much, and thank you again, Laura,
Thank
and
you.
enjoy the rest of your day, and take care and continue your journey, your beautiful journey in the midlife in your midlife journey. So
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I had a great time today.
yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.